You are listening to Stribling's New York on WOR AM radio, iHeart Media 710 on your digital dial. We're also a podcast, of course. Just go to WOR710.com. And my next guest is going to be Melissa Cohn, who is also sponsor of our show, MC Home Loans. You can reach them directly, amazingly, at 844-667-7300. To inquire about a mortgage or just ask a question, the entire MC Home Loans team would love to hear from you. You can also go to my favorite website, because somehow Melissa has engineered this, melissachon.mortgage, mortgage. And that number again, 844-667-7300. Melissa just gave a speech today about rate trends and financing for foreigners. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Hey, Rob. I'm well. How are you?
Good. So tell me what's going on in the economy and the mortgage business.
Well, where would you like me to start? I think, first of all, we should start off with the fact that the president gave his last State of the Union address, and while he said that the economy was strong, I think that we've seen some other signs of not such a strong economy. But the good news is there was really no major reaction to his speech last night. The stock market is down a little bit again today, but that's not because of Obama. That's more due to continued stress over China, and also oil prices continue to head in the wrong direction, with oil prices down again today, even though we saw that there was a declination in the number of inventory last week. The fact that no country wants to stop pumping oil is keeping prices down, and that's not helping us at home.
So what do we do?
What do? We go buy gas. Gas prices are going below $2. It's amazing. We sit tight. The good news about when you're borrowing money and you're financing a mortgage is that bad news for the economy is always good news for your mortgage rates. So as investors clamor back into the bond market, 10-year bond yields are down at 2.10, which is 17 basis points lower than when they started the year, and mortgage rates are coming down. Of course, the economy will right itself. The Fed will guide us, and everything will stabilize. We see that China really wants to help the world, the global market, stabilize. So it's a great time to take advantage of getting a mortgage today. You can get a 30-year fixed jumbo rate today at 3 5/8% with no points. Now, that's a reason to go buy.
So then you even have people who can afford to pay all cash that are financing, I'm imagining, so that they can invest their money elsewhere?
Absolutely. It's funny, in today's market where the stock market took a nosedive last week and has really yet to recover, people are taking advantage of the fact that interest rates are so low, financing as much as they can so that they can let their investments remain in the equities markets and grow, come back.
Well,
Get the best of both worlds.
I've seen that change dramatically. I was talking with somebody in the business about this, with another real estate broker, that co-ops on the Upper East Side that used to be notoriously strict about demanding all cash now allow pretty liberal financing. And this is another story that you and I are going to discuss in a later episode, but they'll let you buy as an LLC for privacy reasons. But how has that altered your business a lot, having people that would normally used to have to pay cash now have liberal financing, and they get a mortgage?
Absolutely. If you're borrowing at 3% and you think you can do better with your money in the markets or by holding on to the markets, there's no reason not to take a mortgage. And I think that co-op boards have recognized that having a mortgage is a financial planning tool more than just a need, and that there are plenty of buyers who don't necessarily need to have a mortgage, but who are taking one because it makes economical sense to them.
And how about foreign buyers? So tell me a little bit more. Are there restrictions on foreign buyers getting a mortgage in New York?
Well, the answer is that financing for foreigners is slightly different than financing for us local folks. An interesting point before I even get into that, though, is 8 to 10% of all purchases in the United States are purchased by foreigners, and that most foreigners look to purchase in what they consider to be safe haven locations. And Manhattan happens to be one of the most favorite places for a foreigner to buy. Up until, I'm going to say, about 2 years ago, after the 2008 wonderful crash that we had, financing for foreigners became very difficult to obtain. But now that banks recognize that such a large portion of purchasers in our marketplace are foreigners, that they are opening back up to financing for foreigners. And today, it doesn't mean that you have to go out and get a rate that's much higher. A year ago, to get a loan for a foreigner, you would generally be looking at rates that were probably 2% higher than a rate that you would get today for being a U.S. citizen. And that's not the case anymore. For example, I have banks that will offer a foreigner rates in the low threes on a 5 or a 7 year adjustable, which are probably only a quarter of a point higher than the rates would be for someone who has residency here. And the process is essentially the same. You have to provide, verification of your income, your assets, your liabilities. We have to build a credit history. And when I can do that, then there are great mortgages with great rates for foreigners, and you can even get up to 70% financing, where it used to be that the most financing you would get would be between 50 and 60%.
Well, conversely, I just thought of this since I've always wanted to own a nice place in the south of France. What if I want to buy something there? Do you help me with that?
I can help refer you to an international bank. It's very funny that banks generally don't cross borders. So in order to borrow in the United States, you have to generally go to a lending institution that is based, or at least has offices, in the U.S.
So do you act as a liaison then?
I can certainly act as a liaison and introduce you to bankers abroad who will finance in the south of France, where we would all love to have a home. But it will be a banker, in Europe who has offices and is based in Europe. And the reason for that is really based on foreclosure laws. It's very difficult for a foreign entity or bank to foreclose on a property in the United States. And we have the same issue when we try to lend abroad. But, in today's world, we have many multinational banks that have offices around the world. So, you really can get financing in any country where financing is available.
So if a U.S. bank is international, then and they have an office or a branch, or this is not my bailiwick, so I'm going to you, then you can work in conjunction with them?
That's correct. You'd have to work with the offices abroad, but we can certainly make the introductions.
All right, good, because you know that I like to refer people to you, and you know more than anybody about mortgages, and I really appreciate your advice and help, and so do all our listeners and all the brokers at Stribling.
It's always a pleasure to help.
Thanks for joining us today, Melissa.
Thank you.